Well, hello there, and welcome. You're with me now. I have you. And you're gonna listen to me read, because this is Reading with Drew. Why else would you be here? You know, it's not anything else. It's just me reading this awesome book called The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Jester. Okay? And, at this very moment in life, we're on chapter 3. Welcome to Dictionopolis. And I don't have anything else, so I'm just going to start ending in, and let's go. Let's do this. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. You must excuse my gruff conduct, the watchdog said. I don't have a voice for the watchdog, by the way. After they'd been driving for some time. But you see, it's traditional for watchdogs to be ferocious. Milo was so relieved at having escaped the doldrums that he assured the dog that he bore him no ill will, and in fact was very grateful for the assistance. Splendid, shouting the watchdog. I'm very pleased. I'm sure we'll be great friends for the rest of the trip. You may call me Talk. That is a strange name for a dog who goes tick, 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 tick all day, said Milo. Why didn't they call you... Don't say it, gasped the dog, and Milo could see a tear well up in his eye. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, said Milo, not meaning to hurt his feelings. That's all right, said the dog, getting a hold of himself. It's an old story and a sad one, but I can tell it to you now. When my brother was born, the first pup in the family, my parents were overjoyed and immediately named him Tick, in expectation of the sound that we're sure he'd make. On first winding him, they discovered, to their horror, that instead of going tick, 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 he went talk, 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 talk. They rushed to the Hall of Records to change the name, but too late. It had already been officially inscribed, and nothing could be done. When I arrived, they were determined not to make the same mistake twice, and since it seemed logical that all their children would make the same sound, they named me Talk. Of course, you know the rest. My brother is called Tick because he goes talk, 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 and I am called Talk because I go tick, tick, tick. And both of us are forever burdened with the wrong names. My parents were so overwrought that they gave up having any more children and devoted their lives doing good work among the poor and hungry. But how did you become a watchdog? Interjected Milo, hoping to change the subject as Talk was sobbing quite loudly now. That, he said, rubbing his paw upon his eyes, is also traditional. My family have always been watchdogs from father to son almost since time began. You see, he continued, beginning to feel better once there was no time at all and people found it very inconvenient. They never knew whether they were eating lunch or dinner, and they were always missing trains. Some time was invented to help them keep track of the day and get places when they should. When they began to count all the time it was available, what was 60 seconds in a minute, and 60 minutes in an hour, and 24 hours in a day, and 365 days in a year, it seemed as if there was much more than could ever be used. If there was so much of it, it could be very valuable, was the general opinion, and it soon fell to disrepute. People wasted it, and even gave it away. Then we were given the job of seeing that no one wasted time ever again, he said, sitting up proudly. It's hard work, but a noble calling. For you see, and now he was standing on the seat, 1 foot on the windshield, shouting with his arms outstretched. It is our most valuable possession, more precious than diamonds. It marches on, and it tide wait for no man. And at that point in this speech, the car hit a bump in the road, and the dog collapsed in a heap on the front of the seat, with his alarm again ringing furiously. Are you all right? Shouted Milo. Grunted Talk. Sorry to get carried away, but I think you get the point. As they drove along, Talk continued to explain the importance of time, quoting the old philosophers and poets and illustrating each point with gestures that brought him perilously close to tumbling headlong from the speeding automobile. Before long, they saw in the distance the towers and flags of Dictionopolis sparkling in the sunshine, and in a It's like a castle. And in a few moments, they reached the Great Wall and stood at the gateway to the city. Ahem, roared the gateman, clearing his throat and snapping smartly to attention. This is Dictionopolis, a happy kingdom, advantageously located in the foothills of confusion, and caressed by gentle breezes from the sea of knowledge. Today, my royal proclamation is market day. Have you come to buy or sell? I beg your pardon, said Milo. Buy or sell, repeated the gateman impatiently. Which is it? You must have come here for some reason. Well, Milo began. Come now, if you don't have a reason, you must at least have an explanation, or certainly an excuse, interrupted the gateman. Milo shook his head. Very serious, the gateman said, shaking his head also. You can't get in without a reason. He thought for a moment and then continued. Wait a minute, maybe I have an old one you can use. He took a battered suitcase from the gatehouse and began to rummage busily through it, mumbling to himself. No, this won't do, no. This is fine, he cried, triumphantly, holding up a small medallion on a chain. He dusted it off and engraved on one side were the words, Why not? That's a good reason for almost anything. A bit used, perhaps, but still quite serviceable. The gateman. And with that, he placed it around Milo's neck, pushed back the heavy iron gate, bowed low, and motioned them into the city. I wonder what the market will be like, thought Milo as they drove through the gate, but before there was any time for an answer, they had driven into an immense square crowded with long lines of stalls, heaped with merchandise and decorated in gay-colored bunting. Overhead, a large banner proclaimed, Welcome to the Word Market! And from across the square, 5 very tall, thin gentlemen, regularly dressed in silks and satins, plumed hats, and buckled shoes, rushed up to the car, stopped short, mopped 5 brows, caught 5 breaths, unrolled 5 parchments, and began talking in turn. Greetings, salutations, welcome, good afternoon, hello! Milo nodded his head, and they went on, reading from their scrolls. By order of Azaz, the unabridged King of Dictionopolis, monarch of letters, imperator of phrases, sentences, and miscellaneous figures of speech, we offer you the hospitality of our kingdom, country, nation, state, commonwealth, realm, empire, palatinate, principality. Do all those words mean the same thing? Oh. Do all those words mean the same thing? Gasped Milo. Of course, certainly, precisely, exactly, yes, they replied in order. Well then, said Milo, not understanding why each one said the same thing in a slightly different way. Wouldn't it be simpler to use just one? It would certainly make more sense. Nonsense, ridiculous, fantastic, absurd, bosh, they chorused again and continued. We're not interested in making sense. It's not our job, scolded the first. Besides, explained the second one, one word is as good as another, so why not use them all? Then you don't have to choose which one is right, advised the third. Besides, sighed a fourth, if one is right, then 10 times is right. Obviously, you don't know who we are, sneered the fifth, and they presented themselves one by one as the Duke of Definition, the Minister of Meaning, the Earl of Evanescence, the Count of Contentation, the Undersecretary of Understanding. Milo acknowledged the introduction, and as talk grew out slowly, the minister explained, We are the King's advisors, or in more formal terms, his cabinet. Chappelle. Cabinet, recited the Duke. 1. A small private room or closet, cause with drawers, etc., for keeping valuables or displaying curiosities. 2. council room. 4, chief ministries of state. 3, a body of official advisors to the chief executive of a nation. You see, continued the minister, bowing thankfully to the Duke, Dictionopolis is the place where all the words in the world come from. They're grown right here in our orchards. I didn't know that words grew on trees, said Milo timidly. Where did you think they grew? Shouted the Earl irritably. A small crowd began to gather to see the little boy who didn't know that letters grew on trees. I didn't know they grew tall, admitted Milo even more timidly. Several people shook their heads sadly. Psh. Well, money doesn't grow on trees, does it? Demanded the Count. I've heard not, said Milo. Then something must. Why not words? Exclaimed the Undersecretary triumphantly. The crowd cheered his display of logic and continued about his business. To continue, continued the minister impatiently. Once a week, by royal proclamation, the word market is held here in the great square, and people come from everywhere to buy the words they need or trade in the words they haven't used. Our job, said the Count, is to see that all the words sold are proper ones, for it wouldn't do to sell someone a word that had no meaning or didn't exist at all. For instance, if you bought a word like where would you use it? It would be difficult. It would be difficult, thought Milo, but there were so many words that were difficult, and he knew hardly any of them. But we never choose which ones choose us, which ones to. But we never choose which ones to use, explained the Earl as they walked through the market stalls. For as long as they mean what they mean to mean, we don't care if they make sense or nonsense. Innocence or magnificence, added the Count. Reticence or common sense, said the Undersecretary. That seems simple enough, said Milo, trying to be polite. Easy as falling off a log, cried the Earl, falling off a log with a loud thump. Must you be so clumsy? Shouted the Duke. All I said was, began the Earl, rubbing his head. He slipped and fell. On a log. It's log. We heard you, said the minister angrily, and you'll have to find an expression that's less dangerous. The Earl dusted himself off as the others snickered audibly. You see, cautioned the Count, you must pick your words very carefully and be sure to say what you intend to say. And now we must leave to make preparations for the royal banquet. You'll be there, of course, said the minister. But before Milo had a chance to say anything, they were rushing off across the square as fast as they had come. Enjoy yourself in the market, shouted back the Undersecretary. Market for started Duke, an open space or covered building in which... And that was the last Milo heard as they disappeared into the crowd. I never knew words could be so confusing, Milo said as he bent down to scratch the dog's ear. Only when you use a lot to say a little, answered Talk. Milo thought this was quite the wisest thing he'd heard all day. Come, he shouted, let's see the market. It looks very exciting. And there you have it. Dictionopolis. Yes. It's full of words. Words I don't even know. This is a children's book. Lots of vocabulary in this book, though. That's something that I like to do. As sometimes I forget to do it, not gonna lie. But if I see a word I don't know, I'll look it up and then I'll write it down. Just expand my vocabulary a little bit. Eventually I'd like to write my own book if I could someday. Maybe. We'll see. So, there you have it. That was chapter 3 of this awesome book. Look like a rooster or something. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I was kind of interested to see what Dictionopolis would be like, but I kind of figured that it'd be like a dictionary. you know. So, and I didn't know that words grew on trees either. So, I guess we're learning stuff today. Isn't this ridiculous? Look at this thing. Anyways, hope you have an awesome day. It's Monday, February 10th. I hope you're doing good at your job. I hope you're working very hard and not watching my video. Not getting distracted by my awesome reading. It's so kick-ass. You just can't help yourself. Don't get fired for being on your phone at work. Don't do it. Okay, I'll see you on the next one, laddie. Goodbye.